have like pretty high variance here, in my opinion. You've talked about, yeah, maybe it is tier 1, but we saw it have some pretty rough draws there in the first match, and it looks like he's going to lead off with that deck as well.
All right, so Kolento is on Paladin and Surrender is on Warrior. The classes on the right are not quite there, but don't worry, they will be updated. So Kolento will probably be fetching some earlier game. Redemption's not even that bad with Haunted Creeper. It's just that against a Rogue, I'm not sure if that's exactly what I'm looking for. I mean, it's weak to AoE. Against a Patron, sorry, it's weak to AoE, and they've got the Whirlwinds, and they have the Death Bites.
Yeah, I mean, the deck that is full of a bunch of 1/1 minions, you kind of get some splash damage from the Grim Patron deck here. Like, do you remember the all-in Paladin deck that was really good last season?
Right.
It had great matchups across the board until you ran into Grim Patron, and that was like your nightmare, which it happens to be the best deck anyway, so you're okay like giving up that match, I guess, because your deck's just not good against what they do normally, you know?
Well, Kolento picks up a juggler off the top, and that redemption is actually pretty sweet in that case. Because if you think about it, redeeming the knife juggler gives you, second knife juggler, which they then have to use another 1 damage effect on, assuming they even have the war axe. So that's giving you 2 rounds of juggles, and then you can even follow it up with a haunted creeper and redemption. It's kind of crazy the value you can get out of a double redemption hand in a position like this.
Yeah, it's going to set up for a weird turn with the Mysterious Challenger as well, with no redemption coming out of the deck. So it might be a little different than you like normally see of what happens, but it gives you a better chance to get a gigantic Mysterious Challenger, because it'll be like one of the only targets probably around for Avenge. So it's going to be a weird spot, but this Knife Juggler might just do a ton of damage here in this early game as well. How do you feel this matchup pans out? Because like I feel this is going to be a very popular one going forward. We're going to see this matchup quite a bit.
I think the Haunted Creepers, like the head that Kolento has, is really decent, but I think overall the edge is still to Patron, right? Like they can still handle a really big Mysterious Challenger if it comes out. As you mentioned, the Redemption not going to be there when the Mysterious Challenger is played. This is really only a big deal because of competitive spirit. Because as a result of competitive spirit not having an extra minion on the board, it's going to be less effective. But to say that it's going to be bad would be, I think, an overstatement, because it's still going to be amazing. It's just that Kolento's drawing an awful lot of secrets earlier game. He's already picked up 3 with a Mysterious Challenger in hand. Ugh.
I like how you say he's drawing an awful lot of secrets. This is like, would you consider this to be kind of par for the course?
Well, you're right. When you get like 9 secrets, well, maybe let's say 7 to 9. I guess drawing 3 at the start is not that far off. It's still above average, though. Like I'd say,
it's above average. Yeah. I'm just messing with you. But you can expect these draws sometimes. When you're playing Destiny Secrets, you're going to draw them.
Yeah, so Kolento with an awful draw. Well, you do know he plays 9 out of 30 secrets. Yeah. Okay, Kolento with an average draw.
Yeah.
All right, the Avenge comes out, buffing up the Spider, and there's going to be a redemption trigger on the Juggle, which unfortunately for Kolento isn't going to do much. Surrender has the Execute or the Inner Rage. Pick your poison.
Yeah, I think he's going to Inner Rage here, because I believe that one of the only ways he loses this game is if a gigantic Mysterious Challenger happens and he has no way to answer it. Yep. So just holding on to the Execute for that spot. While you almost never see people use Inner Rage this way, like they generally hold on to it for one of the gigantic big turns. I also like this trade a lot as well when your hand is Acolyte of Pain and Cruel Taskmaster. He's just setting up to play a long game here against Kolento because he already has an Execute for the one card that's really good in this matchup. So love this.
Kolento is playing a Divine Favor variant of this Paladin. Do you expect it to be just everywhere? Because I can say right now the Divine Favor is not in every one of those variants. Some decks do play a bit of a slower style, where they will sometimes include, let's say, even they'll top at like Murloc Knight in a Secret Paladin deck. It's a little bit unusual because you tend to see that more in mid-range, but I find it kind of interesting that Kolento, I haven't seen a Secret Keeper from him yet.
Yeah.
I don't know if he runs them.
Yeah. There's a good chance he doesn't run them, even though we've seen a lot of games from him. There's also a chance he just hasn't drawn it. The Divine Favor seems like the flex slot for me. I've seen some people have, like, I got Consecration out of this deck the other day, and I was like very surprised to see that out of my opponent.
Okay.
And yeah, sometimes they have Murloc Knight, as you said, just as like some more staying power against a deck that makes them go long, which I don't mind that. Divine Favor, it's like strange for me. I love the card. I think it's great, but you already have 2 copies of Divine Favor in Mysterious Challenger, and when you're Divine Favoring early before Mysterious Challenger, you're actually taking away some of the power of the card, because you're going to be drawing a lot of these secrets out of your deck, but it's still a really good refuel option as well. So it's like this weird stress point in the deck that I would have to play dozens and dozens of games to figure out exactly how I'd want to make the last couple slots.
I think what I like about Divine Favor is that it turns those early, awkward secret hands into better hands because you play those secrets out and then your hand is probably empty by that point. At least at 1 mana a secret, it's not very hard to dump them all, and then Divine Favor increases your hand quality. So it's an interesting, twist on the I guess the Paladin deck list. I'm guessing a lot of people already run the card, but I'm gonna have to maybe look out for lists that include it and don't include it based on what people think it's good for.
Yeah, so like secret on one, secret on two, and then like secret coin,
Mhm.
like divine
Divine
favor.
Favor, draw 7 cards. Okay, game over.
Draw 4 more secrets.
Yeah, draw 4 more secrets, never find a mysterious challenger.
Yeah.
Easy life. All right, so Kolento isn't exact. I mean, he's not exactly in a position where he's happy to play Mysterious Challenger because of the possibility of the Death Bite popping up the execute.
Yeah,
That's
that,
kind of awful.
yeah, that's exactly what he's thinking about here. Is like, where does this put me if there is an execute? Is playing something like just Haunted Creeper and making another 1/1 better? I can maybe get him to use his Death Spite here in that way. That way he has to have something to get damage on my Mysterious Challenger the turn after this, then execute it. So I get like another card for it. So I mean, it's gonna be hard to pass up Mysterious Challenger here though on turn 6. I mean, it makes his future draws better because he's almost out of secrets in his deck now. Also, I mean, he's getting a competitive spirit here, so if this board isn't cleaned up,
There's a chance
so,
he just gets to keep, like, say, like maybe 2/2/2s if he's lucky. But I
well,
mean, those 1/1s are getting cleaned up no matter what, pretty much. Avenge
it,
might make this a different thing, baby.
it forces Surrender to have to use the Death Spite this turn, and the way he's played this game, you can kind of tell that he doesn't have a Grim Patron because, there's a chance it would have happened earlier. Would have played the game slightly different. There's a good chance you can think that he doesn't have one. And so I think this is like the best play line for Kolento versus what he perceives the range of his opponent's hand is.
Yeah, the interesting thing too is that Kolento's future draws are going to be probably better than secrets, just because
Yep.
there's so many of them like already out of the way. Unfortunately for him, the Avenge, obviously going on the minion left on the board, which is wasting it.
Yeah, that was the
Surrender
nightmare.
just gets just a crazy turn here.
Yeah, that was the nightmare for him there. And here's the other problem though: is what does he do with his mana for the rest of this turn? It's almost like just armor up pass, I guess, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that really a problem? I mean, you could play one War Song if you want to eat up the Repentance, so it doesn't trigger
Yeah.
on the Grim Patron later.
Yeah, this is actually a good play here. Yeah.
Because if it triggers, let's say, on a Grim Patron later, or on the board where you play Grim Patrons, then your first AoE is going to kill your War Song, which negates the whole purpose of the play in the first place.
Oh,
Ah, there we go.
there's the consecration. This is something we don't always see out of this deck, but it's good in the mirror match for sure because like it's all about just you getting a collective spirit spirit off before them or a better one than them, because if you can get a bunch of 2/2s versus their 1/1s, you're probably going to win.
So Kolento's still not out of it. I mean, Surrender is not nearly at a point where he's got the lethal. He hasn't found the combo pieces he's looking for just yet. But yeah, this game, like if those 1/1s stick somehow, then I think Kolento could take it.
Yeah, I mean he needs Surrender to brick this turn, but the problem is if you draw something like Acolyte of Pain, this just opens up a world of possibilities. He get Acolyte of Pain with Slam and Battle Rage here. He might even just Battle Rage his turn for one card just to try to find something.
I think he will. I think he will, just based on the fact that if he can't find a Whirlwind soon enough, it's going to be a problem. And how often do you really need a Battle Rage once you've found Patron, right? So at this point, you won't need to draw with a board of damaged minions unless you already won. So you really just have to Battle Rage for one card draw.
Yeah, he's just looking for a Patron at this point. That's what he needs. The game is over if he draws one. He just gets to go Warsong, Patron, clean up your entire board, fill up mine, and there's like no way Kolento can really come back from that.
Yeah. It reminds me sometimes though when you're playing say Consecration, it's kind of like when somebody's playing Dreadsteed with Demon Wrath. All the patrons are on 2 health with a full board. If you attack with a Dreadsteed, multiple times, he attacked into your Dreadsteed to make patrons, and then they're all on 2 health. You Demon Wrath, and you wipe the board completely.
Yeah, I like this play a lot as well. Just get a couple cards deep in his deck. It does make, your Warsong. It does put your Warsong commander
in jeopardy.
In jeopardy, and is the second copy of that card, which is kind of a problem. But he can still win this game by just playing a Frothing. I'm sorry, by just playing a Grim Patron, making another Grim Patron, and then winning from there.
Yeah, but Kolento's got a good chance to win. Actually, Kolento looks like he's going to be racing ahead. That Whirlwind does nothing unless he picks up another Whirlwind effect.
Yeah, he's got a ton of damage this turn, actually, this Consecration, and then just push for everything here. This is a great turn for him.
This is so scary if you're Surrender.
Yeah, I think Kolento's going to win this game.
Unless Surrender picks up a second Whirlwind, I think Kolento is going to win this. And there is another Whirlwind left, if I'm not mistaken, right? He has only found one over the course of the game. There's always a possibility that he picks up another one with a Slam, since he can actually kill, pop the shield or attack the Creeper.
Yeah, he needs to do it. He needs to find it now, though.
All right, Surrender. Better draw. And better draw well. Actually, a Death Spite would do it too, because now he can override it with the Fiery War Axe.
Does he have enough mana for all that?
Yeah, he does. Oh my god. Oh no, he doesn't have enough mana for the Whirlwind. He's only got one effect. Oh well. That's,
he's one short here. Yeah.
That's a rest in peace scenario, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think this game is over, man. What a play and what a draw here from Kolento. There's no way Surrender can get out of this, right?
I'm looking at this, and I don't know if you can actually stop. I mean, Kolento's got one with the Lights Justice, another 6 with those 2/2s that won't go away. The Spider represents another possible 2 damage, even if it dies. You have the Noble Sacrifice, I think, still up, which is going to deny the ability to pop the Spider even. I think Surrender's out of it.
Yeah, because he can take a bunch of power off the board here, but this, I was going to say, the Noble Sacrifice keeps him from being able to do that here. Yeah. I'll say, because he could have gotten to where he had less power than his health, but it still wouldn't stop him. So, yeah.
Well, Secret Paladin does take a game, so Kolento with at least a decent call on bringing the deck to the event. Pretty happy to see that it takes a game. We'd only seen it lose up until this point. My hope is that Dragon Priest also works out. I can't figure out whether or not it's good against Patron. My general feeling is Priest versus Patron is an auto loss, and against Rogue it's rough, and against Handlock it's rough. So Priest might be the downfall of Kolento if everything lines up for Surrender.
Yeah, I really don't like his Priest in this lineup. That's what I was talking about. I liked Surrender's chances in this matches.
Yeah.
I thought Paladin could easily steal a win from anything it played against because the deck is pretty broken when it gets going. But this Priest deck just seems to match up pretty poorly, as you said, against all these other decks. And I mean, do you really want to be jamming a Priest deck into Grim Patron? I mean, you just give them all of the time in the world, and you actually don't set up boards that they can't get through eventually.
All right, so Surrender goes again with the Patron. No, actually, that's Kolento. I'm lying.
Right.
Never mind. Surrender with a Rogue. Rogue, some people, so again, this is kind of like the Druid versus Rogue matchup. Some people will debate over and over, like, about who's got the edge. Good Rogue players say, well, I've got the edge because I've got Blade Flurry. And good Patron players say, well, how do I lose with Patron? Is it even possible? And so it's still a subject of debate. I think overall the matchup is close to 50-50.
I think it has a lot to do with the pilots, and it tells you a lot about who the people are that play Rogue. They always debate that all their matches are 50-50 or that they're the favorite every matchup. They're like, oh, even the Control Warrior matchup, I'm still somewhat of a favorite. I'm like, what if they gain 40 life? You're like, oh, I'll find a way to get it. Yeah.
I'll triple Tinker's Sharpsword into quadruple Blade Flurry into the Alexstrasza. It's just completely insane sometimes. But it is true though. Like, people who love playing Rogue will defend it until they die. It's insane the loyalty that people have to that class.
It's actually the first deck I got super into in Hearthstone was Miracle Rogue, because I came from a Magic background, and it felt like the most deck playing Magic. I felt like I was doing
it felt you were actually doing Magic the Gathering stuff as opposed to doing as Druid stuff, right? Or you just play a card.
Play a dude. Is it good? Yeah.
Do I play a 1/1 or a 1/1? Well, I guess I can Hero Power.
Yeah.
Alright, so Surrender here, he has the Galvan Auto Barber, could feed it into the War Axe to make sure his Shredder stays up. There's a good argument to be made for that. Otherwise, it's going to be a very dry turn. I think you might want to get rid of this War Axe.
Yeah, I think he's going to. It still accomplishes a lot of goals. He gets a 2-power weapon here, and he gets some damage in, but he's trying to get a board where he can get an Azure Drake to stick. I mean, the real goal as a Rogue player in any of these matchups is to have a minion stick to the board for a full turn. If you can ever get your turn back with a minion in play, you are so dangerous to the other deck, because every time you get to have a full turn with a minion, there's a chance you kill them.
Right away.
Tinker Sharps at Oil is a very messed up card.
So what's interesting here is that Surrender has the Drake. He's got the Blade Flurry with the 2-attack weapon. That deals with a Patron board very nicely. The drawback is he needs a prep or to find a Deadly Poison, of course. Wait. Oh my god. There's no way. No way. He can't even lose this.
He can't play his Azure Drake now.
Oh.
There's no way for him to kill off his.
Yeah, no, he can't actually.
You can see Surrender too in his 2 matches so far. This is being his second one. His reactions to what's happened to him and like the RNG and some of.
He's always like this. Surrender is not like he might be able to recover very quickly from a loss, but he definitely shows it on his face when something happens. And this Nerobar Weblord, when you've got nothing but a Drake to play, is just. I mean, I guess it's fine that you picked up a Blood Mage. At least you've got something on the board. But that would have been so much better with Blade Flurry on 2 damage weapon later in the game.
Wow.
I don't even know what to say.
Oh man, it's kind of like when the Mana Wraith comes out of a Pilot Shredder, just messes up your entire turn.
Yeah.
You know, you see people play around it every now and then. No one ever plays around this card though.
Well, the thing is, Nerobar Weblord and Mana Wraith really mess up a lot of your turns. But people tend to play around those more than Doomsayer, because Doomsayer is even less likely. But whenever you get a Nerobar Weblord out of a Shredder that's actually killed by your opponent, you can't even play around it. Like, you're literally just sitting there and taking the RNG. Oh man, Kolento going in.
Yeah, he's going to have a pretty good turn here, make a lot of patrons, and put the onus on Surrender here to be able to answer this entire board.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth it to ever extend another Whirlwind here, considering you're running into Blade Flurry in the worst case scenario.
Yeah, no, he has to just actually use a Tinker Sharpsword Oil here, because he can't play the Azure Drake plus the Blade Flurry.
Yep, 1 turn off. Can't afford to take all that damage.
Yeah, so
no way.
Kolento is actually okay with this. You know, if that play works out, he wins from there. Obviously, that's great. But going into 6 mana for Surrender, he knows he has to do something along those lines, and you feel great since he has a charge used. You didn't take any extra damage because Kolento is at 16, so there's a chance that like some burst damage could actually kill him.
Yeah, I think Surrender overall, this is a position, even like Nerobar Weblord not enabling the Drake was obviously a big deal, but he did end up cycling the Blood Mage for all that's worth. And now he's got the Sprint, he could get another crazy Tinkers. Of course, you'd love to get rid of that Armor Smith, so playing Lotheb contests the board very nicely.
Yeah,
and then you can get rid of the Armor Smith on the following turn.
Yeah, I like Lotheb Dagger up a lot. It leads you to the best turns next turn. I mean, you already have Azure Drake Blade Flurry, so you just pick up something like, you know, Deadly Poison, you could have some insane turns.
Yeah, I mean, if you sprint, you could even find a prep. And, like, you could Deadly Poison off the top with a sprint, and then find a prep to use Blade Flurry with. There's a lot of ways for you to just turn this Lotheb into repetitive damage.
And, I mean, look how good this Lotheb was against Kolento's hand as well. I mean, he might have to, you know, move into a huge Frothing Berserker here.
Oh, man, he's doing it.
Yep.
Kolento's going for it. He's going to force Surrender to play defensively again, I think.
Yeah. Well, Surrender has to find a way to take care of this Frothing Berserker, because you have to believe that's going to threaten lethal next turn. There's no way you're not taking 20 from this Frothing Berserker on this board, right?
I mean, if you Drake Blade Flurry, you can actually kill it, but you have to sacrifice Lotheb in the process.
Yeah,
you're giving your opponent have a lot of armor, so you'd have to sprint first to make sure you don't.
Yeah, this turn's difficult because, like you said, you give your opponent a ton of armor. You do take care of the Warsong Commander and the Frothing Berserker with trading your Lotheb and the Unstable Ghoul, but the Armor Smith is left around. You know, how good is Kolento's hand going to be from there? The one thing, though, it does play around Battle Rage a little bit if you do it on your own terms and don't let Kolento do it on his turn.
Yeah, but there's also you could hope for Backstab, you could hope for Eviscerate, you could hope for Deadly Poison off the Drake. I guess there's a good argument to be made for a lot of those plays. You could even just tank the Frothing and SI it. That's a lot of damage taken, I'll grant you that, but maybe it's better than letting it sit on the board.
Yeah, this way, I mean, at least he does have like an Azure Drake sitting around.
Yeah, he ends up with a Lotheb staying up.
Oh, okay. He's thinking about attacking here and then finishing it off with an SI agent. Okay.
Tanking it like a man. Yeah. That's a lot of phase damage, but sometimes it's better off than taking, you know, 16 later
That is a
on.
lot of blowback.
Oh, man. You heard it here first, boys. Straight from HPL. Alright, so Battle Rage for 3 cards. Sounds like a pretty okay 2-mana cost card.
Yeah. Card's OP.
Actually, wait. Frothing double Whirlwind is lethal. There's no way it's not.
Right?
Well, yeah, I think it has to be, right?
Yeah, it's like +6, +6.
Yeah, it's over. Rip.
Yeah, it's way over, actually, yeah. With the other minions.
Well, Kolento is going to take this other game, playing Patron against the Rogue. Again, I don't think the Rogue was that favored, at least it didn't seem like it, if it was. We have to account for that Neurobar Weblord, putting a little stick in Surrender's wheels there. The problem is, like, Surrender has to then completely sweep the Dragon Priest from Kolento. That's a pretty
I mean,
rough.
it's not something that's undoable. I mean, I do like the way his decks match up against Dragon Priest, but the turn that was for me is, when he just tanks that damage there from the Frothing Berserker, that play is the best play for him to win the game next turn. All his other plays are playing not to lose. So
Right.
that's where the biggest argument is in the game for me on that turn. Because if he does the play you said, like where he just plays the Azure Drake, doesn't attack, he loses his Loatheb with the Blade Flurry, the spell damage plus Blade Flurry, and Kolento's left with I think a 1/1 Armor Smith, and then Surrender has a minion still in play.
Yeah.
But he's not going to be able to win over the next turn, and it gives Kolento the most time. Plus, it plays around battle range. That's the reason I like the play, but we can see Kolento's hand. We know there's a battle
Of course,
range
yeah,
there.
we have perfect information. Whenever you've got
Yeah.
that information, it's always a lot easier to make the calls. I think overall the game was played pretty well. It's just that
Yes.
when you can't really do anything, like you can't really do anything about, like having to deal with the Neurobar Weblord and slowing down your pace.
Yeah. I mean,
That's a really big deal. I mean, Shredders tend to do that once in a while. It just sucks for Surrender that this is potentially the match point for Kolento, which means Surrender would be out of it completely.
now, this is a pretty good opening hand from Kolento. This is the kind of hand that can get it done against a rogue pretty early because there's
Yep.
not a lot of super clean answers. There's that word again to all these minions that he has. A 2/3 on 1 and a 3/4 on 3.
I've got to say, though, that I'm loving Surrender's hand as well. The Backstab, SI, the Sap, and the Assassin's Blade, which is unlikely to find an answer in Kolento's deck. Now, Kolento, so there's something to be said about Dragon Priest that I find is super interesting, is the Twilight Whelp. A lot of people, when they initially saw it, even in the advent of TGT, they said, I'm not sure I'm going to play that. Because I already have the Warmest Agent. Well, what's really good about this little one-drop is that it enables you to maybe even enable something like a Twilight Guardian later on. It's in your hand. Even if it's a dead draw, it's still a dragon. So playing this little guy, you can play him early game as a Zombie Chow, and that's great. You can play him. You can keep him in your hand late game for great value, just to enable everything else. I think this guy is underrated by a lot of players.
Well, I could definitely agree. I mean, it's like Zombie Chow that doesn't give your opponent 5 life. And I mean, this is exactly what Priest wants. They want a cheap minion with high toughness that can impact the board and, make their hero power actually good. Like the fact that they can play this on 1, and if you've played a minion, you could run into it and then heal your guy. Because, like, that's the biggest problem that Priest has. That's why you see it struggle a lot in competitive play is its hero power, let's be honest, it's kind of not a hero power. Like, if they don't get on the board early and utilize it that way, they don't have a lot of things going on.
Yeah. Alright, so Surrender here opting not to kill the Twilight. Well, the reasoning is, if I kill it now, then sure, I'm getting good backstab turn, but here's the drawback. If I don't kill it now, it might get Valence Chosen, and I have to sap it. Apparently, he weighs the pros, he weighs the cons, and he realizes, or at least thinks, that letting the Twilight Whelp eat a buff and sapping it is much better than just killing it outright. Because if it eats up a buff and you sap, you're basically 2 for 1 in a weird way.
Yeah, plus, I mean, this gives him a 3/3 in play as well. I mean, this gives him some extra value from an SI7 agent. He doesn't just have to, like, naked one into play without getting the combo potential. So, like this play from him.
Oh, man. Okay, wait. Oh, that Assassin's Blade is so tempting when you've got a sprint to prep and a Tinker's Sharp Sword just waiting around next turn. You know it's right there.
Yeah, have
It
you ever
always
tinkered
is,
Sharp
right?
Sword? Have you ever tinkered an Assassin's Blade before and have it live?
I've had it, but only against priests.
Yeah, it's the best feeling in the world.
There's nothing that feels much better than just punching your opponent in the face for a total of 6 damage a turn.
Yeah, you gotta think he's gonna prep this sap here. There's no way he's just gonna. Yeah, he's not just gonna give up his SI7 agent here. Yeah, good tempo turn here from Surrender. Like this a lot. Be able to push a little bit of damage.
Yeah, the power of Rogue, that's exactly what they do. I think prep is, like, if Rogues could run 4 preps, they just might.
Yeah.
I was actually having this discussion with somebody recently where prep, we were discussing about it, like how awful Rogue would be without prep.
I mean, it's like their Innervate. I mean, like how would Druid's deck be as good without Innervate? I mean, let's say that, like, Daenerys Esprit didn't exist. It only had Wild Growth. Like, would that deck be as good? It would not be anywhere near as consistent.
Yeah, but some people say that because of ramp, you can't give them anything good. because
Oh, okay.
you risk breaking them. So I wonder sometimes if cheap spells for rogues that are like better than Eviscerate, let's say. Good luck with that. But cheap rogue spells can't be good, otherwise they break the class a little bit.
Well, I mean, we
kind of
saw
interesting discussion.
Yeah, we saw them break something early in Hearthstone. Gadget
Right.
Auctioneer. I mean, have you ever had that guy played and then they conceal it? It's the worst feeling in the world.
Yeah. Well, it was
or
fun,
the best,
a little bit.
best if you were doing it. Yeah. I did it a lot, so it was a lot of fun for me.
All right, so Kolento with the Dragon Priest, typical turn of what do I do here? Nothing feels too good. I mean, you could always go for a Nova, and I think your Whelp lives, if I'm not mistaken, because it's on 3 health. So you would be able to just kill the Drake and kill the SI. I think it's too good not to take.
Yeah, this is too good of a turn not to take for sure. I mean, you're doing what you want to be doing against Rogue, and that's just board control. That's not a bad draw for Surrender here.
That's a great draw for Surrender.
Yeah, he's gonna be able to take care of this Twilight Whelp and develop a Violet Teacher here, and most likely go prep into Sprint into do all the things next turn. I mean, this is exactly what he needed. That was one of the best top decks in his deck.
We know Kolento is playing a Shadow Word Pain, and he's got the other Nova, so maybe this Violet Teacher is not as big a threat as it wishes it were, I think. And now that one sap's out of the way, Kolento could opt to buff up the Dragonkin Sorcerer.
Yeah, I think it's funny this card is making its way into Constructed now, but this guy is a house when you start putting buffs on it.
All right, how much is Surrender going to be digging for the sap? Is he going to prep that Sprint and hope he top decks? Is that ever a play, or do you just start playing that? I mean, prep Sprint is good just because it spawns 2 1/1s, and if you find sap, then all the better.
Well, I mean, if you prep Sprint and you don't find an answer here, I think you're still okay, because you are still drawing 4 new cards and developing a board. I mean, you don't know the second Holy Nova is sitting behind you to really punish you from here.
Right.
But he's just trying to reload and restart the game.
Oh, that 4th card, Surrender, going full sweat.
Yeah.
Always the last card, isn't it? And now the Violet Teacher is definitely a crazy play. Although I have to say, Kolento with the Blackwing Corruptor, followed by Holy Nova, even if you escalate it over 2 turns, still has a pretty good way to answer this.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to start pushing, and I like this attack with the dagger here, because you're going to freshen up your dagger. I think a lot of people miss this damage here in some points. And yeah, Kolento, he has a way to kind of fight this over the next turn or two, but it's going to take a little bit of a while. But see, now that both saps are gone, he can make this play.
Oh my god, this looks like my typical Death Lord, except it has no drawback.
Oh, and it's got 5 power. This is pretty good. It does challenge all of his board. Now, he can make some pretty big dagger plays here this turn and maybe just face a bunch of this and get through this, but then he starts to get punished by Holy Nova and Blackwing Corruptors.
Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, that really puts a dent in his ability to push for crazy Assassin's Blade. We were talking about his ability to do that earlier. If this hits one of the unable to attack 1/1s, that's gonna really suck. Oh, this is the Violet Teacher. Wow, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, that was
oh
actually
my god,
one
that
of
is
the
the
worst.
worst. That is probably the worst, actually.
Yeah, this is Surrender's been a little unlucky in his matches here today. It's been hard to watch. But,
oh, a little, you say?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, Surrender's played a Zoo deck earlier and couldn't find anything but Doom Guards in his starting end. A little rough to watch. Kolento has the Nova. I find it interesting that he's playing Shrinkmeister Cabal in this deck, but I have to say, it's a pretty good inclusion. It always works. He's playing 1 Shadow Word Pain and 1 Cabal. Well, keeping some of the core Priest cards.
I do like Cabal Shadow Priest a lot right now. I'm not saying Priest is a great deck, but that card is pretty good in what's going on in Hearthstone right now. There's so many great minions for it to steal. And then when you play that card, there's always the there's always the chance that you're going to play something like Shrinkmeister to kind of combo with it to get some extra value out of it.
Alright, so Surrender did pick up the second Tinkers, which salvages the potentially useless Assassin's Blade. I say useless, but take it with a grain of salt. Even if it's not buffed, it's still a reasonable weapon. But when you can Tinkers it, or even just use a Deadly Poison, it's exponentially better. Yeah, so the fact that he got this really, I guess, tightens up the gameplay.
He's going to be able to put up quite a fight here, too. He just got another Violet Teacher as well, so he can keep playing this long game if he wants. Yeah, I was supposed to say, he can push for damage here as well.
He's on 13 health.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's on 13 health, so like he has to start actually pushing for damage, because if he just faces this and keeps trying to play a long game, if Kolento has like another Twilight Drake or whatever here, you're not you might not have enough to get through everything eventually, because he's at such a high life total. You have to get it down at some point.
If you had the other Blade Flurry, I think there's a good argument for trading, and then maybe you can get a better Blade Flurry afterwards with your other weapon. But in this case, pushing for damage is definitely reasonable. Oh,
You know,
man.
it also sends a lot of things Kolento's way. Like when you see someone make that kind of play, now they have to be worried. Now they have to start, playing a little differently. But I mean,
what does worrying do here? I mean,
Yeah.
worrying? Okay, I guess I'm gonna heal up for 2 every turn. Let's hope that keeps me out of range. All right, surrender is gonna be. There's no way he doesn't go for a weapon push.
yeah, I think it's one of the only ways he possibly wins this game. So
Oh man, here it
plus the
comes.
eviscerate. Yeah, this is actually a chance for him to lethal over the next turn.
Yeah, possibly 8 with deadly poison, and he's got blood mage eviscerate, so he's looking at possibly lethal. He still has to find either blade flurry or the second eviscerate or the SI, I think, to get the guaranteed kill.
Yeah, so he has to think, since both his saps are gone, he can't really affect this board. I mean, he could use eviscerate to take care of one of these minions, and he'd have to face a ton of damage if he wants to beat down this Blackwing Corruptor. So the problem is, can he win without going face from here with the way his hand is constructed and the way the rest of his outs in his deck are?
You might try the Shredder just because Kolento is going to be trading into it, and that maybe gives you an outlet for the Tinkers. Like, there's a chance it has enough health, but I mean, playing Tinkers here on the back of the Assassin's Blade lets you push for heavy damage right away. Oh man.
Now this means he's going to eviscerate if he's making this play. If he deadly poisons.
I'd imagine. But then what's his next turn? Does he play South Sea Deckhand? That would be a good argument to keep the Tinkers.
I mean, he could just play the Blood Mage Thanos too as like kind of a way to
cycle into the Blade Flurry.
Yes, cycle, and I mean it does gain you some life as well because Kolento almost has to attack this card.
Yeah, you can't let a double eviscerate hit you for 10.
Yeah, that's just too much.
Unfortunately for Kolento, he hasn't found anything to keep him alive, assuming Surrender's game plan comes to fruition. That's looking pretty likely that it does come to fruition, actually.
I'm doing a lot of math here. Hold on. 9, 13. Yeah, I mean,
it's not one yet. It's not one, but he's got 2 draws. So okay, not exactly what you're looking for, but a Blade Flurry would be good enough.
Yeah, Blade Flurry, the other eviscerates.
Oh, that's gonna buy you some time.
Yeah.
Oh man. So buy time Tinkers, or do you ever sprint eviscerate? There's no way you don't play Healbot. You can't not play Healbot. Would you ever?
Okay, so if you sprint here, you have. I think he's already used 1 prep, right? So he has 1 prep left in his deck.
He's used 2 preps early.
I was gonna say, yeah, there's no way he can sprint if he's already used 2
Yeah,
preps.
he's already used 2 preps. I don't think he can actually get anything better than this. Healbot plus a Tinkers lets him push for 8 damage to face. That's lethal next turn pretty much no matter what happens.
Yeah, comboed with Eviscerate, this should be enough to get through most healing unless Kolento draws an actual heal card, like something like an antique heal bot of his own.
Yeah, he's already played 2 Nova, so maybe a Holy Fire would be left, but that's gonna be it. Kolento can't possibly win this. We know it for a fact. What?
The Tinker Shops at Oil actually helps him this turn because he could have Shrinkmeistered the antique heal bot and taken it with the Cabal Shadow Priest.
Yeah.
But now he can't do that because it's 6 powered.
It looks hopeless from Kolento's perspective.
Yeah.
Oh man, let's hope this Dragon Priest is not the downfall of God Lento, because he's been he's been playing pretty well. I'm happy to see different decks, right? Like, Kolento's the only player that brought something completely out of the blue, although I guess I do have to mention Stan Sivka's Warrior. I didn't expect necessarily Control. I mean, it's been pretty standard up until now, before Kolento showed up.
Yeah, I mean, Kolento's got by far the funnest lineup.
Definitely.
He's got all the fun decks, all the cool things going on. Everybody else is like pretty just stock, accepted as best way to play some of these tournament things. Nothing wrong with that, but this is a little entertaining.
Yeah, I'm loving Dragon Priest. Honestly, I can't wait for the decks to become refined to the point where finally, like Dragon Warlock, we start seeing it crop up more and more in tournaments. Alright, so Surrender, is he going to show the top deck? Is he not going to show the top? Why do you not even try to tilt your opponent, Surrender? I'm disappointed in you.
I mean, it is Kolento. I mean, like, he's probably never going to get tilted, but it is something you should at least try. Any little poke you can give at your opponent, you should probably try.
Yeah, Surrender, I guess, doesn't think it's going to affect Kolento, and he'd be right. I think Kolento's gone through enough swings in his career. There was a time where Kolento was down in the dumpster performance-wise. I think went like 1-13 over a specific shorter period of time, I think at the beginning of the year. Didn't seem to care at all. Like, he just kept doing his thing, knew that the odds sometimes don't The odds are not ever in your favor.
Yeah, I knew you were going there. I knew that was coming.
Hey, dude, don't say that. You can't have known. We don't telepath.
I was gonna say, if you didn't, I was picking that pun up. But yeah, I mean, whenever you're like a professional player in these games, you're gonna go through swings at some point in time in your career. I mean, everyone's had that month where they just feel like they can't win a game. You know, like I just feel like I haven't won a game in a month. You know, and how you persevere through that speaks a lot about you of how you are as a professional. And I just feel that it literally never phases Kolento. I mean, look at that face; it never changes no matter what. I mean, they could one out him.
I think this webcam is pre-recorded.
Oh, it's pre-recorded. Okay.
Yeah, probably on loop. It's been on loop for like 2 years now.
It just no one. It's like, have you ever called an Osaka game? It looks like you could.
Dude, I think they literally crop only his face and slap it on a random background, and that's it.
You can't tell if it's live or it's a picture because neither one ever moves.
Yeah, you can't tell.
He has the best poker face I've ever seen of any player.
I've seen him smile.
I have seen him smile. Yeah.
Okay, you have too. I thought I witnessed a rare occurrence, but you did.
In HPL, he queued up Mech Shaman 5 games in a row just as a dare when he was eliminated from the playoffs, and he started grinning in some of his games because he was actually just having fun. It was great.
Got a little Hearthstone where it's all about fun. I mean, it's Friday.
Oh God.
I smoothened up that segue like a boss. You didn't even see it coming, did you?
I did not, but it was worth every minute of it.
Alright, so Kolento's got the Twilight Whelp off the top, which will give Surrender the ability to kill the Whelp, more likely than not. Now, Kolento's got to make a decision. Do I heal or do I heal?
Yeah, I mean, weighing the options between the two of them, I gotta think he's gonna go with the second option. It seems like a little cleaner to me.
Actually, he did go for the third option. I like this,
option
actually.
D.
It's pretty good. He didn't see the War Axe, so he thinks he's going to be able to push for tempo. And that's a really good read from Kolento, because it's going to... There's no way that Surrender punishes this unless he completely wastes his turn 3. It feels like such a waste.
Yeah, you can Cruel Taskmaster if he doesn't have either a way to kill it or a taunt here. Then you kind of get to 2 for 1 him a little bit here, but you got to believe there's always going to be, a Twilight Guardian here.
So if there's a Twilight Guardian near Kolento, do you kill that 2/2 because of Execute?
There is an argument to be said about that, but are you okay with your guy getting executed? That's another thing.
Probably. I mean, it's wasting 1 mana.
I mean, you have to get damage in at some point in time. He doesn't have a ton of ways to beat down Surrender. I mean, you see that he actually does have some minions in his hand, but his deck is not geared to super beat down a Grim Patron deck, and you can't just give them 12 turns. They're going to kill you.
All right, so I think you're right. The thing is, Surrender gets a really clean kill. Oh my god, I said clean again. Somebody stop me. He's getting a really good way to deal with the Twilight Guardian, because the Execute Slam not only draws a card, but also allows you to trade with 3/2. And that's going to put Kolento in a bit of an awkward spot going forward, maybe. Oh wow, he's not going to go for the Execute. He lets Kolento extract some value out of the Drake. I think what at this point what's going through Surrender's mind is, even if you heal the Drake up, the Ghoul will AoE down to the point where the Drake will be executable.
Yeah, it's either that, or he doesn't want to use his Execute and wants to make sure he's getting value out of his Death Fight. Or this board at least is a better Battle Rage board as well, because he knew that, Kolento has shown that he's not going to trade here. So this leaves you with a 2/1, and you get an extra card off of Battle Rage, and it just depends on if he wants to develop Deathbite this turn or draw extra cards.
I'd be surprised to not see a Deathbite Execute turn and a trade. I mean, it's so good if you think about it, because you then can play the Gnomish Inventory, lose the Deathbite to possibly another minion, and then Battle Rage again for 2. I think Deathbite Execute is very tempting.
Yeah, if you Deathbite Execute, you get his entire board.
Right.
You have a Deathbite to proc next turn on a Gnomish Inventor if you want to. I mean, yeah, it just seems... really, what's the word I'm looking for here? Would it be clean?
Alluring?
Alluring, there we go.
I don't think clean is the one you're looking for this time.
Yeah.
Oh man, so Surrender is probably going to pick up that play. There's a chance that he doesn't end up killing the Twilight Guardian, but I'd be very surprised, because there's an argument to be made to just slow down a bit if you don't think you have to. Maybe try to get a bigger frauding. Because you're going to kill that Wormist Agent with a Deathbite no matter what.
Yeah, this way, I mean, again, he doesn't have to use his Execute. This Deathbite takes care of both of these minions, and you see that he's actually just valuing his Execute way higher than these board positions, because, he only has 2 in his deck. It's the only way he can get through these things. Maybe he's worried about, something like a Chill Maw coming out later in the game that he just has to have an answer for before he starts to go off. He can't just, attack through it.
I'm curious to know if Kolento plays Chilma. My assumption is yes, right? Because Chilma is such a good dragon. The thing is, it's also a very gimmicky one. Okay, maybe I'm just, you know what I'm gonna say, and being like, oh, those patrons are dead, and then it dies and it doesn't do anything, and then I realize, but I'm not holding a dragon. So you really do have to hold some resources in order to make Chilma good, and when you can't maybe cycle through your deck. Which is exactly what Kolento's going through. I mean, he's got cards, but not ones that would enable Shilma unless he keeps the Dragonkin Sorcerer forever.
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing the problem that I have with decks like this, where you build these dragon decks and you get to situations where you want to play a card because it's good this turn, but how good is it when you don't have a dragon in your hand anymore? And it, negates a lot of the top decks you're going to have from the turns after this.
So Kolento playing very solid wizard poker here. I mean, he realized that he has to just smash the patron in the face because there's no way you win if you just play a slow game. The only way you win is if you just rush him down. And Dragon Priest is a little bit better at it than typical Priest. Control Priest would lose automatically, but Dragon Priest does have tempo turns. Turn 1, the Twilight Web, the Wormist Agent. You've got the 3 drops with Dark Cultist that you're running.
And here comes a huge turn from Surrender here. He's going to be able to clear this board.
Gotta
and get in
expect
a
it.
ton of damage. Now, Kolento is going to be able to clean this up with a Holy Nova, but he's going to be taking a ton here.
I mean, he's not attacking like that. Unfortunately for Kolento, like that Frowning Berserker just for Surrender, that Frowning Berserker does nothing.
It doesn't have charge. I just always assume they have charge.
No, that's the thing. Like, Kolento played this so well. Because he's put his opponent in a position of having to play defensively, even though he just doesn't want to. And a Patron Warrior put on the back foot is usually one that you're possibly going to beat one day.
Now, something is to be said about this for Surrender. It was done on turn 6, and all Kolento can do is kill this Frothing Berserker. If he wants to kill it, he has to do it, giving him his whole turn this turn. And he doesn't want to, take, because you got to believe you're taking more than 10 next turn if this thing gets to attack. So,
I mean, there might be an argument to let it live, because the most it's going to grow to is if a patron board comes out, right, without a Warsong Commander, with Inner Rage and a Whirlwind. So you could let it live and just play minions. I think there's a good reason for that. It can't grow that much bigger because it's so low on health. It can't eat up like 3 more Whirlwinds. Yeah, and this is actually pretty much what's going to happen here. So Warsong, Acolyte of Pain, Inner Rage, Whirlwind.
Yeah, you can get through a ton of damage here, take care of some of Kolento's board. Now, you have to be careful.
Dead, man. You're dead if you do.
Yeah, you have to be careful. Yeah.
Right. I love Kolento's playstyle. So aggressive, but he knows that there's no other way.
Yeah, it's like we talked about earlier in the game. I mean, if you give them, 10, 12 turns, they're going to kill you. Like, they're going to find all the pieces they need. He's been putting pressure on him to make him make plays like this.
Yeah, Surrender is just being put on the defensive as a patron. And the thing is, they have so few defensive options compared to, say, Control Warrior, that it's really awkward. Well, I might consider playing the Armor Smith, but then again, Cabal Shadow Priest, it's kind of iffy. Do you Inner Rage here, or do you wait until you can get Armor Smith value with it?
Maybe he just wants to... Yeah, I was going to say, I think you wait here.
And this is how Kolento swings back in the game by stealing the Acolyte, Shadow Word Painting, and pushing face for 3, right?
Yeah, that seems like... Well,
I mean, you can't... 2/4, right? That's the question now he's asking.
Yeah, you give him 1 card, but you get to have more minions left in play, because you can't Cabal and Shadow Word this turn.
No, but it should be fine, like, to... I think denying the card draw is the most important part.
Yeah, right. I mean, you do get in 3... this way as well. It does put him down to 6. I mean, getting in the damage is actually a pretty big reason to be doing this as well.
God Lento doing the impossible. The Priest, he does have the Armor Smith and the Whirlwind still, but the thing is, if that happens, Kolento draws cards, and he's perfectly happy with that.
Yeah. Also, every time Surrender has to use something like an Inner Rage or Whirlwind to kind of start trading up, he's losing combo pieces from his deck.
Yeah, he's losing the game slowly. Like 1 piece at a time.
Dread Corsair is going to give him pause here. Does a taunter get him out of this turn?
I could taunt and kill a 3/2. I could see that, but then you die to Shadow Word Pain, Shadow Madness. There's a lot of ways for you to die if you play that guy. But if you armor up, you're saving the whirlwind, and you might just live. And is he alive? He is alive by 2 health.
Yeah, Kolento would have to find 2 damage here
Balance
somehow.
chosen is not impossible, but that's if he doesn't Nova, then it's gone.
Yeah, he doesn't have enough mana to Nova, Power Word Shield, and Valen's chosen here. This turn.
Honestly, with the Acolyte of Pain, is there an argument to attacking something? No, because then you'd have... Yeah, if you attack with the Acolyte and you top deck Valen's chosen, you win. Because you give him a 1 armor, then you find Valen's, and then you Nova for 1 more damage.
Yeah, I like this play though. The Shadow Word Pain on the Armor Smith so he doesn't gain any extra life this turn. Trade here to draw a card. Get some. I mean, he can even buff this guy up if he wants to draw another card and make sure it lives through the Gnomish Inventor.
He's still
gonna
heal it. Buff up the big guy that dies to weapons, maybe.
Yeah, I'll say this is another way to play this as well.
Oh, that's convenient.
Wow.
If a smaller minion comes out, another Acolyte, something else along those lines. Oh man, Kolento could take this. I'm actually excited to see a priest win the matchup. I don't think I've ever witnessed it.
In casting, I have never seen a priest deck beat Grim Patron ever.
Just goes to show how Kolento has not been underrated one bit, considering where he's ending up today. I mean, bringing this lineup is already a feat of strength. Just deciding to go for these decks, to me, is not one that I would have expected to see.
No, I 100% agree. I thought Kolento had the strangest, I'm using that word, you know, like the most odd lineup out of everyone here today.
Oh man, the Battle Rage draw a card on a Gnomish Inventor. Picks up the Armor Smith though, so that might be the swing back in the game that Surrender was waiting for. He can play Free Dread Corsair.
Yeah, Free Dread Corsair, Armor Smith. This might be getting him back in the game.
Yeah, I think this could be it. The question is, yeah, he's got to play the Armor Smith with the Whirlwind effect. There's no other choice.
Yeah, he still has, you know, Grim Patron to draw as well. Now, Kolento could steal the Armor Smith from him on the next turn.
Yeah, slow down the progression. I think Kolento's winning ticket might be a Valen's chosen minion. Anyone. If one stick that's not executed, that could be enough for him to win.
And do you attack the face here with the weapon? I guess not. But, you know, just to get, you know, your chance at a Whirlwind effect next turn as well in case you
Shadow
draw
Word
Patron.
Pain. Oh, wait. That does it.
Yeah, does that
No,
actually...
he's 1 mana off.
Yeah, as I'll say.
Oh, no. God, Lento. Well, actually, you could draw the Pain. You still do it, right? Or do you... No, it's still the Armor Smith.
Yeah, he's already used one, and some of the lists only run 1. You know, they run like 2 Death and 1 Pain.
Oh, man, Surrender doesn't even want to look at the screen. He's like, what's happening to me? Well, I think ultimately Surrender did play this well. It's not as though he made any misplays, at least that I could spot.
Yeah, I mean, his hand just didn't really come together early in the game, and, you know, Kolento has played this game very well.
I mean, go for face when you could trade. Usually the instinct when you play Priest is make the trades, but it wouldn't have won here. And the fact that this Frothing with a Whirlwind on a board with 7 minions doesn't win is such a satisfying sight from a caster perspective, because I don't think I've seen this before.
Yeah, usually when they, at this point when they draw the Frothing, like in this kind of board state, it's, oh, he's just going to take 22 and it's going to be over. And
Surrender is out. That's it.
Wow, Kolento with Priest beating Grim Patron. Never thought I'd be saying that.
I mean, it's Dragon Priest. Maybe it's not your typical priest.
Right.
One day will come where every class will have like 7 archetypes, and then nothing you do as a caster will happen prediction-wise. So, might as well start embracing those days. You know, if Dragon Priest becomes a thing, Control Priest is a thing, and eventually we get an Aggro Priest. I'm calling it. Give it another year, and we'll get there. The metagame
Shadow Boxers.
Yeah, we gotta see some Shadow Bombers, man. Like that 1 drop, deal some damage to that face. It's gonna be pretty sweet. Now, we know that, you know, Surrender's out, unfortunately for him. Thijs was relegated to the possibly loser's bracket. He was gonna play against whoever won this. Kolento won, so he's still in. If he beats Thijs on the next match, he can actually move on. Thijs still has a chance to move on, of course. He had a pretty rough matchup against Tansivka. So maybe it'll line up better, because his lineup was very anti-aggro, and Kolento is playing, you know, a tempo-based priest. That's handleable with the, you know, the hand log that he was running. So there's a chance that Kolento, you know, just gets dropped again with a possible bad sequence of draws. How do you think Secret Paladin will fare in against the lineup from Thijs?
Yeah, I actually like Dice's lineup against Kolento here. Again, we're going to see Kolento be what seems like, you know, a dog on paper here, because, you know, he is the only one that seemed to bring, you know, aggro decks to the matchup here, because he's got decks that have minions going on early in the game. And God, the other decks just seem very geared to beat those. And against Secret Paladin, I mean, I like almost every deck in his lineup against that one.
Yeah, I think he's going to be super well equipped to deal with the Secret Paladin for the most part. Well, we'll see how it works out, guys. We're going to be taking a short break before we move on. This is going to be the last match of the day. It's going to determine who moves on to stage 2. Kolento or Thais, pick your player, I guess, at this point. I predict that Thais' lineup will be better, but I hope Kolento wins, if only because he's bringing a really cool decks to the tournament. So that being said, guys, we'll be right back. Do not go anywhere.
From east to west, heroes are sent, seeking glory in the greatest of events. There are knights on noble steeds, those who will bring them to their knees. There are monsters to test their mettle at every turn. Legends will rise based on their merits. There's even pirates riding parrots. It's the grand